It's time to start on McDreamy's LSA 6L90 combo. We got the LSA, the 6L90. You already saw I got my Wegner stuff way over there. So I've already taken off all my harnesses, my steam port stuff. This common port that always breaks was already broken. We're just gonna get rid of these stupid quick connects anyways. All my vacuum hoses and my recirculation stuff. So we're going to slowly strip this thing down and get it ready for prime and paint and get the Wagner fitted up to it and drop this back off, because right now the frame is still at FX Innovations. He's doing the exhaust on it. It's coming out killer, and then he's disassembling it because powder coat is actually right next door to his shop, and he's going to have it powder coated over there, and then he's going to reassemble it for us, which is super nice of John. And then we're going to slap this thing back down into it. So I've got to strip off all my accessories, the water pump, the pulleys. I've got to bolt the oil pan on because it's just got a couple temporary bolts in there right now. Seal all that up. Then we can degrease this whole thing. Blower is coming off, hat's coming off. Blower is getting painted the same color as the block. Hat's staying black, but I think we're going to finish these ribs in silver to match the valve cover ones. And we're going to go from there. So, as you can tell, I'm super jammed up with work. So we're just going to do this as I can do it. Most likely, because Saturday I'll be down the shop working on the Chevelle. I'll probably be in here Sunday, because like I said, I got no life. And I kind of want to get this one together. I'm really curious to see how it looks with the Wagner drive on it and everything. So I'm going to get to it little by little. Well, we're torn down all kinds of parts over here. So this has a solid isolator in it. I already, way long ago in a video, I went over that. It's a completely stock blower, not ported snout, not ported runners or anything. The rotors actually are in very good shape. So this is a very low mileage motor. I forget how many miles Boss Man said it had, but we're torn down now. So almost torn down. I'm going to pull off my lower pulley, pull off my brace for this cam sensor, because if you remember, the PSI harness runs straight up to the sensor. We don't need this jumper. And I'm going to pull the valve cover just to see what we have for rockers. I'm pretty sure they're just completely bone stock needle bearings and everything too. And then I'm going to flip the engine. I got to take these stands off, flip the engine, pull the pan, make sure the right pan and pickup is on it, and grab some bolts and finish bolt the pan on. Then we can start cleaning this and getting it ready for primer. Well, I'm glad I pulled the pan to double check everything before just bolting it down, because as you can see, there's no oil pickup tube in here. Plus, we've got a cut seal, which that pan, this pan, is supposed to come with a pickup tube, so the guys just didn't put it in. And I've got to modify this pan to be an F-body style pan by cutting this front off. We've got some built parts in here though. So this engine was running liquid moly oil, as you can tell by the green color. And I'm going to pull this windage tray because those 12 points are not stock. So I'm going to see what this thing has underneath here. Well, that's a pleasant surprise when you find out you've got a forged crankshaft, Texas Speed forged I-beam rods, and forged Carrillo pistons on what looks to be, by the inside of these cylinder walls, a completely fresh, new, good build. Definitely was not expecting that. I'm gonna put this back on the chain and on the hoist, because now I want to pull this rear cover and get the back of the cam and see if we have a camshaft in it, because if they went this far, I'm highly doubting there's a factory cam in it. Well, after getting the rear cover off and grabbing the numbers off of that and doing some cross-referencing, it's a stock LSA camshaft. It's a weird flex with a fully forged bottom end, but I think, and I'm not 100%, but I think what might have happened here is we have a built motor. That blower came off a little easier than it should, and the bolts weren't as tight as I think they should be. They were tight, but not as tight as I think they should be. I'm guessing this kid, whoever had this, I think it was a 14 Camaro that it came out of, ZL1, might have had a cam and a Whipple or some other blower on it, and when he crashed it or whatever happened that made the powertrain available for pick and pull, he probably put stock shit back in it and took his crap to sell it. Still good. Complete forged bottom end. Yeah, I'll take that all day long. All right, it's a new day, it's a new haircut, and we're back on the LSA. This is actually three days later since we first started this, because the weekend hit and I worked on the Chevelle. We've got the front and rear cover, front and rear seals in. So I'm going to slap the windage tray pickup oil pan on this, and then we're going to clean and degrease this whole thing and get it ready for a primer. I still have stuff in the booth over there. I'm actually painting and cleaning up the starter right now, but we're getting there. What you haven't seen yet is I've got the entire blower and snout and everything painted and reassembled. Looking pretty nice. It's going to be a super nice contrast with the color of the engine bay of this truck is going to be. The lid is over there. I've got to sand down some high spots on that and then paint and take care of that, and then that can get slapped on here. I think the only gasket we're waiting for is actually our internal gasket that seals the intercooler or the heat exchanger brick to the blower. Other than that, we have everything. Long block is back together. So what I'm going to do now is remove my steam port tubes, remove my crank sensor, give the silicone some time to dry, and then solvent wash the entire block, scuff it up with a scuff pad, and we're going to put it in primer. threw our new NGK spark plugs in there, threw the water pump on, threw the bracket on for the cam sensor, and now I'm going to throw the damper on, and then we're going to let everything sit and cure overnight, so that way it'll be ready to go in the morning, and then I can throw the blower on, the manifolds, all that stuff. Ooh, let me go show you the manifolds. So here's our manifolds. Yes, we're running manifolds on this. Just ease of installation on the Roadster Shop chassis to have some room and clearance around everything. So these are factory LSA manifolds, which, being in the LSA crew, or we'll say family, because I've got a CTSV long enough, there's guys that have gone mid-9s on stock manifolds, so it's not going to hurt us power-wise, especially not at the power level we're at. But these I sandblasted, cleaned in the wash cabinet, and this is a POR 15 cast color high heat paint. So this should look great and stay looking great for pretty much the life of the truck. Okay, balancer is on. I also didn't ask you guys, what do you think of the color so far? I love it. I think it's going to look badass in that engine bay with the colors that the exterior and interior of that truck is going to be. So I can't wait actually to get in here tomorrow and start throwing some more of this stuff together. And I still have to actually paint the transmission. So at some point tomorrow I've got to take off my transmission cooler lines and take an emery pad and some degreaser to this thing and clean it all off so we can prime it and paint it. It's also going to be the same color as the engine. So the whole drivetrain is going to look kick-ass in this truck. It's almost a shame we have to put a body on top of it. It's Wegner drive time. So I've never installed one of these, so we're both going at it the same way right here, completely blind. These three M1025 bolts are MIA from the kit for some reason, so we're picking those up, but I can put most of my other main brackets on though. So we're gonna go do that now. So right off the bat, something new for the whole new kit. So they end up taking out this timing cover bolt and using that for their mount, for their first mount that goes on for the tensioner. So I'm going to throw that in now. Since these are all stainless bolts, I'm going to throw a little bit of grease on the bolts just to keep them from seizing up here. And then we're going to start bolting on the Wagner. Trying to slide everything all in here nice and neatly to not nick any paint. I got that bolt started. Now I'm going to get my two side bolts started. Got a little bit of drag racing going on in the background. Watching some Boosted Boys of Kyle with his brand new billet motor. Alright. Okay, so I'm going to tighten these up. I like how that looks. I'm going to torque these down and then and actually torque them down this time, not just 18 foot-pounds. And go grab my next accessory to bolt on until I get to the point where those missing 3 bolts are going to be an issue. So one thing they don't go over in the instructions is this tensioner you can mount in that bolt or that bolt, which moves it that much. So we're just going to get this all together and get the belt on here and see if this is good. If not, we'll move it to the next bolt. We'll just go that way. Alright, next one up is this idler that goes here. And so I have to remove this to get to the bolt, remove the pulley. And they say to leave this pulley off until you're ready to put the blower belt on, because it makes it much easier to get the accessory belt on. So we're going to bolt the bracket up to it and not the pulley. Next up, this entire AC bracket. I'm going to take this tensioner off of here though, because there's a bolt that's hidden underneath it that I need to use. So let's bring that over there and get that on there. Alright, going to put some grease on these threads and throw this big giant chunk of billet on there. This will be fun, because this thing is kind of heavy. All these clearances are tight. Just to show you how tight these are, that thing rests right up against the water pump. That is some precision machining. All right, here's problem number one. I think this is going to interfere with the valve covers we're planning on using. So I'm going to go grab one right now and mock it up and see how it fits. So yes, unforeseen circumstance. Bottom half of the valve covers fit, but the top half that hides the coils don't. The good news and bad news is Wegner does make special valve covers that are made to work specifically with the LSA accessory drive we have, but they're that price. Kind of don't think we have any way around it. So I'm waiting for Boss Man to come out here and cringe that he has to spend more money. And then we'll get some more nice billet goodness coming in. It's gonna have a whole lot of billet on this block by the time we're done with it. Okay, so while he's swallowing that pill, I'm gonna bolt the alternator bracket on next. Let's see, this is gonna go this way. So this, I removed the power steering pump just to make this easier on myself, because this thing's already a big giant chunk of off-kilter billet and aluminum. Come on. There we go. Had to get it just lined up right. And we're just gonna snug her up. All right. So I'm gonna final snug up these and throw the power steering pump in here, and then we're gonna take a step back and see how it looks. Yeah, that thing looks pretty badass. And we don't even have a blower on it yet. I'm really liking how this is all looking. I gotta do some actual work now, but after I'm done with that, I think we're at the point where I can throw that blower on here. I just got to make sure I'm at that point before I throw it on, because I don't feel like taking it back off after I throw it on. Oh, baby. So I didn't film putting the blower on because two of us did it, because we wanted to lower it down as easily as possible and not scratch anything. So I'm going to throw the top lid just on top of it, not bolted, because I still got to clean up all the bolts we got. And we're going to see what this thing is going to look like. Oh, baby. This thing is looking insane. It's unfortunate we don't have the valve covers for it, but we ordered the really expensive Wagner ones because they're the only ones that will fit the LSA with this kit. They make them specifically for this. Very nice looking valve covers, just also very expensive. I got to clean all my bolts and paint them to bolt the lid down, so it's just sitting on top right now. But this thing is just nasty. It's a shame. It would look so much more nasty with the actual valve covers on it. Ooh, yeah. Came out exactly how I wanted it to come out. I think that's a perfect contrast between the black and the Olds bronze, and I think both of those colors are going to be a perfect contrast against the color that the truck and the truck's engine bay is also going to be. So I'm going to get to cleaning the rest of these bolts I have so I can bolt everything in fully, and then we'll get started on this transmission and get this thing all cleaned up and painted. Update. So the Wegner valve covers are not available for 4 to 6 weeks. Closer to 6 to 8 weeks if we want them engraved. Not going to work. Going to be well into driving time by then. So I'm going to paint these, clean up the coils, put them on, see how everything looks, and we're going to go from there, because it's either going to be that or Motion Race Works valve covers, but we're going to see how this works first. So I've got one sitting in the parts washer right now cleaning up so I can get ready to prime and paint it, and we're going to do that. No fault on Wagner. They got a ton of shit going on right now with SEMA and all this other stuff going on. They just have a massive wait list. I'm going to see what we can make work. Well, here's where we ended for tonight. I ended up blasting, painting, smoothing the whole 9 yards on the stock valve covers. Painted all the coils, painted all my mounting bolts. Actually, I got my manifolds on there. Those actually look kick-ass on there. So the plan is we're going to run with these. The Wagners are ordered. If they come in, we're going to put them on. If they don't come in, this looks good. It kind of gives it a little bit of a mechanical feel instead of a completely smoothed out feel, because once you see the engine bay of this truck, it's got big giant smoothed out fenders and everything in it, inner fenders. So tomorrow I should have my 3 bolts for these, so I can put this last idler bracket and idler on, and I can put my belts on. And so far the plan is Sunday the chassis should be done with powder coat and back together, and we are going to bring it here to Ferrari, all assembled, rolling chassis, mount the engine and the transmission that I have yet to paint, then transfer it or transport it back, because it's going to be much safer to move this engine and transmission mounted in the frame than it is on rollers or on a support or on an engine stand in the back of the Dodge Dually, because I don't really want this thing bouncing around anywhere. But that's where we stand for now. So tomorrow, gonna get that little bit of stuff done with the bracket there and button up every tiny little thing that I have, which isn't much left now, and then just finish tighten all my bolts and stuff, because so these idlers aren't fully tight yet, because I have to get everything situated how I want to get them situated, and then we tighten these, because remember, this outside don't turn, just the inside. Pretty nifty, but kind of in love with this engine so far. A little bit more than I am with the LS3 that I built for the Chevelle. But we're gonna have 2 absolutely kick-ass vehicles going to Scottsdale, Barrett-Jackson, with 2 absolutely kick-ass engines. But I'll talk to you guys tomorrow once we get here and I get my bolts and I get everything all bolted up together. We'll give you a final finished view of this thing. All right, finally got my what are they, M10 25 mil bolts for this idler. Belts on, lower belts on, things looking good. So I opened up the wires we had, spare sets of LS wires we had at the shop, and they were actually Excel ceramic boot wires, but they're the black ceramic. I'm like, oh yeah, even better, more black for this engine. This engine looks just so good. It's such a good color contrast. I had to rotate my boost bypass valve up a little. Got to clip that in all the way, but this was down 90 degree here. I had to rotate it up because this bracket hits it. No big deal. We're done engine wise. It is 100% together. The only thing I have to do is, once I put straps back on it to take it off with the hoist, I've got to bolt the flywheel back on. Transmission is actually over there drying right now. I'll take you over there in a minute. But I'm very, very happy with how this engine turned out. This thing looks beautiful. I can't wait to get it in the frame. It's gonna look nice just in the frame. This will, I think, be the first vehicle we've done that we're going to do pictures of just the drivetrain in the frame itself. Everything else has always been like pretty fairly assembled, and then we get pictures of it. So it should be interesting. We're changing it up as we go. You know, you get better and better as you go along. You learn more, you learn different techniques, you do whatever. We're not amateurs, but you know, we're not showmen. We just build. So this whole showing you how we do stuff thing is it's a venture of mine. So let's go take a look at this transmission. Is it a unconventional way to hang it to paint it? Yes. Does it work? Absolutely. Let me turn off my heat gun. Just had some extra heat going on here. So we're not painting this pan. It's got a nice little gash here. We have a brand new pan coming. Once this transmission is back on the engine, back in the truck, we will paint the new pan, put a new filter in it, new fluid, the whole 9 yards. But this paint, I still have to paint this flange. We're doing this black, obviously. But this paint laid down beautifully on this thing. Such a nice color. This is gonna look insanely good with the engine and the transmission bolted back up into the truck. It's weird. I don't know if it shows up on camera or not, but here it looks light, like the primer is coming through, but it's not. There's a pearl, light pearl to this paint that around inside or outside bends like that. It looks like the primer is bleeding through. I won't tell you how many times I've recoated stuff and thinking that I didn't put a heavy enough coat or a good enough coat, and the primer was bleeding through, but nope. Just the pearl in the paint. So that's it for this. Next up, we'll be installing, like I said, putting this back into the truck. I'll have some video and some pictures of that. But as far as McDreamy's LSA and 6L90, we are built. We're built and we're ready to go. So thanks for watching, as always, and stay tuned, because we're getting down to, we're not at the nitty-gritty yet, but it's getting close. There's going to be a lot of fast-paced work going on. So I will record as much of it as possible. I'll talk to you later.